Akron pioneer, 93, to pilot canal boat in Centennial. Sunday, May 10, 1925. Lorenzo D. Seeley, otherwise known as Doc, is 93 years old. He has seen the passing of the canal boat supplanted by railroads, gasoline conveyances, and aircraft. But he will again board a canal boat and pilot it over the old Main Street passage of the canal here. The canal boat of 1925, although a replica of the boats of nearly 100 years ago, will rumble along on wheels over the asphalt pavement, now covering the old canal bed, instead of creeping slowly through the yellow waters as in the old days. The canal boat, according to present plans, will be built to head the parade during the Centennial celebrating Akron's 100th birthday. Captain Seeley, with face framed and whiskers, will sit at the helm of the make-believe craft and once again pilot it along the winding route. Seeley was born in a log house in Medina County on December 13, 1832, when the port of Akron was 7 years old. At 14, Seeley began his life on the canal, taking a job driving for $10 a month and keep. In the years that followed, by dint of hard work and economy, Seeley rose to boat captain and then to boat owner. With the Veto, a coal boat, and his first possession, Seeley plied between Cleveland and Massillon, making weekly trips from the Massillon mines to the northern port of the canal with loads of coal. He stayed on the canal as a boatman for 30 years and then turned to the easier life of lock tender, at which he continued until 1913, when the life of the canal was ended. An interesting episode of the canal life, showing the methods of physical combat employed in hardy days of the early canal, was relayed by the old boatman. At the junction of the Erie and Ohio and the Pennsylvania and Ohio canals, an Erie Canal boatman, after abusing Seeley in hard language from the lock, attacked Seeley aboard his own boat. Seeley's tremendous shoulder girth still gives a pretty accurate picture of the strength that must have been his in earlier days. Seeley met the boatman's rush and the two battled about the deck until Seeley landed a blow that stretched the other guy out on the plank floor. The old Captain Seeley here interposed the remark,
"I was just a little bit rattled then, or I would have jumped on his face and ended the fight, but I forgot."
After a moment, his opponent rose and the battle continued. Seeley spied an axe which reclined against the cabin wall near at hand, and with a quick movement he snatched it up and swung at the head of the oncoming man. Seeley again had tough luck. He landed only with the flat side of the axe. His adversary went down, but friends of his on the dock swarmed down, picked him up, and carried him into a nearby saloon. A few minutes later, primed with liquid stimulants and patched up by his friends, the enemy boatman came back to renew the fight. Seeley climbed up on the lock, the men formed a narrow circle, and the boatman rushed his husky opponent. Time and again, Seeley relates, he drove the boatman back with hard blows, but his friends in the circle caught and steadied him, never letting him fall to the ground, then pushed him back into the fray. Oncoming chin met flying fist in the final rush, and the boatman went down. Seeley leaped to the back of the recumbent figure.
"But his friends threw me over a bank into a gravel pit, and I was bunged up a bit myself,"
the old man added ruefully. The legend of Lonesome Lock, located near Peninsula, revived one of the many ghost stories rampant during the heyday of the canal.
Lonesome Lock was where a man was supposed to have had his head chopped off. Nightly, the headless body was said to roam about the lock, searching for its missing cranium,
shared Seeley. Superstitious canal boatmen refused to pass through the lock after dark, preferring to tie up on the near side of the lock and suffer the necessary delay rather than face the headless ghost. Seeley's first encounter with the ghost occurred when he was still a novice on the canal. The night was pitch dark, a storm was close at hand, and all was still. Seeley, with $500 in his pocket, was following the towpath past the lock when suddenly a dim, white shape reared itself up before him. Teeth chattering and knees quaking, the youngster halted, afraid to run and more afraid to stay. He stopped and picked up a large stone, thinking,
"We'll see if a stone will hurt the head that isn't there."
He threw the stone and,
"It sure took that old white horse an awful belt in the ribs."
He chuckled. Seeley's reminiscences are countless, and his greatest pleasure is to talk of the old days. He now is getting rather feeble and lives with his daughter, Mrs. H.A. Beers, at 49 Lake Street in Akron.
Take a trip on the canal if you want to have fun. You may talk of your pleasure trips on the Great Lakes, but a trip on these canal boats you bet takes the cake. Beefsteak is tough as a fighting dog's neck, and the flies they play tag with the cook on the deck. The potatoes she'll burn, let their coffee boil o'er, the fume nearly choke you so greasy the floor. The cookroom's a limit, you must eat or die, and when it's all over, you laugh till you cry. So haul in the tow line and take up the slack. Take a reef in your shirt tail and straighten your back. Whatever you do, be sure don't forget, tap the mules gently while the cook is on deck. Oh, those were gay times and no equal have they. Whatever the weather, we'd run night or day. If I owned the world, on the ditch I would run, for no other place has such oceans of fun. She's so fond of biscuits, she makes them like rocks, and woe unto you if you fall in the locks. They do for a cannon, with them we kill snakes. You're not long on board until every tooth aches. Her pies are like leather, you need teeth of steel. Whenever you eat them, how strangely you feel. Her soups are the limit, oh yes, all her chow. We put it away, but I won't tell you how. The water pail often, you know, would get dry. She'd open the window, dip up a supply. In the food you could taste it, the captain would rear, but one look from her and the weather was fair. She sure had an answer for